welcome to Joe's Knows College Football Episode 1, first one of the season. Might be the best one of the season. We have a Week 4 slate that is absolutely loaded, and we have a good panel today. We got Will Kukowski, Matt Freeman, and me, Jack Kemmler. We're going to go through all the games, but with a special guest. This is the founding father of St. Joe's Broadcasting, a college PFF analyst, and the older brother of the Ben Chadwick. It is Max Chadwick. Thank you for coming on.
Of course, guys. Thanks for having me. I'm way more excited to be on it now that Ben's off the show. So, yeah, guys, this would be awesome. Before we start, I want to tell you guys I watched your NFL preview, and the one that I think Ben was on, and I forgot the kid's name. He's not with us right now, but he and Ben were going at it over some of their predictions. I thought that was absolutely hilarious. You guys are killing it right now, and yeah, guys, this slate in Week 4 is special. I looked it up earlier. There's 6 games between ranked teams this week. That's tied for the most that we've had in a regular season week in 6 years. So it is. If you have plans on Saturday, I know some of you said that you're going to be working, but I would call out sick, man, because this is the 1 week of this season. I think that you need to be tuned in from noon until midnight, basically.
Yeah, most definitely. So we're going to start off with the questions right now. First one, I'm going to start with Will. What QB are you drafting in the 2024 NFL draft that's not named Caleb Williams and Drake May?
So yeah, coming from an Indiana fan, I have a little pre-bias watching him play on Indiana before he tore his ACL. Michael Penix is a spectacular passer, and what he's doing in Washington right now with Romeo Dunze and Jalen McMillan is absolutely ridiculous. They are currently just running over Pac-12 defenses. I think that even though he is old, he is 24. The ability that he brings to the field with his arm is just beyond what many quarterbacks in the league right now can do.
Yeah, I'm gonna take Riley Leonard as my guy here. I really loved what he showed us, against Clemson, and then throughout this entire year, he has that quarterback frame. He's standing at 6'4". He's been a very efficient passer so far this year, and that rushing upside you can see. It's evident. He's a tough runner, and I think that'll translate well, especially to the modern day NFL. I think is a little bit of a project because he hasn't played against top-tier competition for too long, but you could see how incredible he played against a very elite defense in Clemson. So I'm going to take Riley Leonard as my third quarterback off the board.
Max.
Yeah, listen, those are 2 great options. Michael Penix Jr. has been unbelievable to start the season. You can make the case he's the Heisman frontrunner. I'd probably say he's second right now behind the guy that I'm about to talk about. Also Riley Leonard too, man. I actually was lucky enough to talk to him this offseason, and he is an awesome, awesome kid. One story I love about Riley is that he was, as a superstar athlete in his hometown, he'd always be praised by everyone. He said that, he didn't get enough criticism. So he told his mom to text him before every game saying, quote, "You suck." And he said, that kind of helped me because that gives me a chip on my shoulder. He's like, I want a chip on my shoulder. I don't want people, praising me and all that because then I don't think I perform my best. So his mom is not only his biggest supporter, but also his biggest hater right now, which I thought was really awesome. And yeah, I think he's a great choice. The guy I'm going with right now, and the guy that I didn't think was even in the discussion before the season, is Shedeur Sanders. He has been unfreaking believable to start the season so far. I think he might be the smartest quarterback in the draft. I don't think the physical tools are as good as someone like maybe a Quinn Ewers, someone like a J.J. McCarthy, who I think is also in the mix as well. But what Shedeur has displayed in terms of football IQ, and it's no surprise considering who his dad is, Deion Sanders, the greatest corner in NFL history, he is as smart as they come, man. And he has been dominant through 3 weeks so far. And I think right now, I would give him the Heisman Trophy if you're just going off these 3 weeks. Do I think he's ultimately going to win it? No, because I think Colorado's going to slip up a few times, maybe lose 4 or 5 games. But he has been special to start the season. And in a wide open QB3 race where like you guys mentioned, 2 different guys, I think each of them have very good chances of being QB3. The guy I'm willing to roll with right now is the guy who has been unbelievable and also only a true junior as well. Now, I will say I don't think he's declaring, or I don't know if he's declaring. Deion in the video already said that he's not letting him declare. I wouldn't be surprised if he went back to school because obviously Colorado bringing back Travis Hunter next year. They could be maybe even a playoff team next year with Shedeur Sanders back, which is crazy considering they're 1-11 last year. And then also the 2025 quarterback class doesn't have a Caleb Williams and Drake May as of right now. Like Drew Aller and Connor Wegman from Texas A&M, they look good, but they're not as special as Caleb or Drake. Shedeur could be QB1 next year. So maybe he decides to stay for another year. But as of right now, I think he could be QB3 in this class.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to cheat this question, but I feel like I kind of have to. How I'm basing this off of is if you're drafting as a win now team, say like the Broncos, I think you go with Michael Penix. And for all the reasons Will said, his arm has been amazing, leading one of the top offenses as of Washington. So I think if you're in a win now team, you take Michael Penix because, you know, you're 24 years old, definitely matured enough. But if you are one of those teams that are rebuilding, I think you go with Shedeur Sanders. Just the way he's been throwing the ball under pressure and with no pressure. I mean, that O-line has been very shaky through the first 3 games, and he's just been playing amazing Heisman level. So we're going to move it on to the next question. Which team do you think is going to collapse and move out of the playoff contention? We'll start with Matt for this one.
Yeah, I think it's going to be the Georgia Bulldogs. I mean, this is a heavy favorite to win the national championship this year. They're going for 3 in a row. I'm just not entirely sold. I mean, also you can see right over here, I have the Ohio State flag, so I'm not going to pick my own team, even though they do have similar problems. I mean, Georgia did not look very good at all in the first half against South Carolina. They're a good opponent, but it's not like the top elite type of opponents you're going to see in the SEC. Even though they don't have a very tough schedule, going and playing those road games in the SEC is always tough. And I'm not really sold on Carson Beck as the quarterback yet. He's a solid guy, no doubt about it, but I don't know if he can go out there and win games when the chips are down. So I just don't really get excited by this Georgia team with any of the weapons. So I'm going to say Georgia is going to be the team that's going to fall out of playoff contention with a couple losses.
Max?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to say the Bulldogs just yet. I think that South Carolina game wasn't great, but I think I'm holding out. Remember that Missouri game last year when they only won by 4 and everyone thought the sky was falling in Athens, and they ended up going 15-0 and winning it all. So I do think there are serious issues. The pass rushing in particular, I think, has been really not good. And you remember that's basically what's won Georgia the last couple national championships was that defensive line was ridiculously loaded. It is not like that this year. So I am worried about that, but I'm not going to pick the Bulldogs. This is a tough question. I'm sorry, Matt, but I think Ohio State is I think they're going to lose this weekend. Kyle McCord, I am not sold on yet. He has not been impressive to me so far. He has as many big-time throws as turnover-worthy plays so far. The weapons they have there are spectacular. The offensive line has been unbelievable to start the season, and way better than I thought they'd be. But they also played, Youngstown State, Western Kentucky, and Indiana. So now this is a test against Notre Dame. I think Ohio State's one of them. I'm even going to pick my school. I'm picking Penn State. I don't think Penn State is nearly as good as people think they are because that offensive line at Penn State, besides Olu Fashanu, is a mess right now. So I think that's a big issue when you go against teams like Ohio State with the defensive line that they have, like Michigan with the defensive line that they have. Illinois even gave Penn State troubles this past Saturday. Iowa could give them troubles this weekend. I don't love the receivers at Penn State either. I think those two I'm looking at right now and saying, I'm not completely sold on them just yet. So I think Oregon is a little overrated too. I think Washington might lose a couple games. Anyone in that Pac-12, man, they're going to beat up on each other. It's going to be tough. So, I'd say the Pac-12 conference is maybe going to beat up on each other. Maybe USC comes out of it, but I would say Penn State and Ohio State right now are the two that I'm a little bit lower on just because I think they have some serious issues.
And really quick, I just want to jump in and touch on the Ohio State comment. Even though I do have the flag and I'm a big Buckeye at heart, I agree with you 100%. That offensive line, they've held up extraordinarily well in the beginning of the season, but going in, it was very suspect. We lost 2 guys to the NFL that are playing fantastic, by the way, and the starting center. I'm not really seeing how we're going to reload. I mean, we've been okay so far, but, we haven't really played much competition. We'll see this weekend. Yeah. And Kyle McCord, obviously, it's hard to look bad when you have the weapons Ohio State has. I could go as far as saying it's the best weapons that Ohio State's had since I've been alive, since I've been watching football, with Marvin Harrison, Emeka Egbuka, Carnell Tate. We saw him break out. That's his first touchdown pass of his career. So, although I'm a big Buckeye, I have faith a little bit at least. I agree with you 100%. I can't really see them holding out and making the playoff this year.
And the defense is loaded. I will say that the defense at Ohio State is loaded. It looks fantastic. McCord, the raw stats look great. The PFF analytics numbers, they don't paint as pretty of a picture so far. So this is a big test, man. This weekend against Notre Dame is a huge test for him. So I'm excited to see what he can do this Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, I thought I was going to be the lone person in this, but I am going with Ohio State as well. I'm not going to say as much as you guys did because you hit basically every point. I just don't think Marvin and Ibuka are just going to take him as far as people think they are, especially against good coverage defense like Penn State and Michigan. So, Will, who do you have collapsing and moving out of the playoff contention?
So yeah, I'm gonna agree with Matt here. I'm gonna go with Georgia. Max did touch on their D line. They're also their ability to stop the run so far has been, a bit of a site of concern. A D line at Georgia that is usually a prominent part of their team, lacking very heavily the defensive side. And I just want to highlight. Looking for the future of Georgia and where where you would find the loss, a Tennessee team that really does kind of scare me. Jalen Wright and Joe Milton, like two extremely athletic guys, run the ball really well. And Max, I have my question here is, do you think that Tennessee has the ability to take down a Georgia team?
They could. I think they definitely could. Joe Milton has been up and down to start the season, but Tennessee has the offense where if Georgia can't pressure him, that was a big reason why Florida won that game, was they were able to get consistent pressure on Milton. If Georgia can't pressure him, it could be a long night, man, because Milton has the strongest arm in the country. He could throw it 90-plus yards. He's been spotty for sure, but I do think that that's a game that Georgia fans should be a little bit wary of. And, yeah, I could definitely see it that happens.
So yeah, I'm gonna just take Georgia here. Really, really strong team. They're probably gonna end up, going all over. They're probably gonna end up sweeping this the entire season and make the playoffs. But that Tennessee game does really, scare me a little bit.
All right, so moving on to the last question, we have which team do you see rising up the rankings and making that playoff push for the 4th spot? Max, who do you got?
Oh man, this is tough. I think. Going into the season, my playoff prediction was Georgia, Michigan, Florida State, and USC. And I feel great about 3 of them. Florida State didn't look good, and I'm worried about this weekend because I think Clemson is a really good matchup. I think Clemson can do a lot of the things that Florida State can't do well right now. So I think that's a great matchup. And honestly, I think if any ACC team can beat Florida State, besides Boston College and what was a ridiculous game, Clemson could actually beat them straight up. So I think those 3 I still feel good about. I had USC. I still like that, and I'd hold true to that. But I think Texas might have the best chance now because they got the hardest game out of the way already in Alabama. They only play Oklahoma right now, who's another ranked team. They don't really have too many more difficult games. They play Kansas State at home, Oklahoma in Dallas. That Texas team, I don't trust them because that Wyoming game, they came down to the wire. They were tied at 10. But their schedule is easy enough that they could make the college football playoff, and they got their hardest game out of the way already. So all Texas has to do right now is don't screw it up, which, of course, for Texas has been a big issue the last few years. But if they could do it this year, I mean, they really don't play that difficult of a schedule. And teams like USC, they play a really, really hard schedule down the stretch of the season. So I just don't know. But I think Texas might have the best chance to grab that 4 seed just, by not screwing up.
Yeah, for me, I think the team that's going to rise up the rankings, and I know Max sounded off on them, but I really like them this year, is Penn State. Drew Allard is playing very inspiring football at the QB position. And you see their matchups, the 2 big ones, Ohio State and Michigan. I see them winning that Ohio State game because of their coverage defense and stopping Marvin and Ibuka. And then it gets that Michigan game when you're undefeated and you're going to have to play your best football. It's definitely a hard matchup, definitely heavily the underdog there. But I could see them getting into that game undefeated and playing some inspiring football and winning that game. Will, who do you have for this one?
Yeah, I'm going to go against what I believe in my underdog team. I'm going to take USC here. They're just, the team with Caleb Williams. In my eyes, Caleb Williams outside of the college football playoffs again is something that I don't expect to see. And I think that the defense that they've built around him is much stronger than it was last year. And I think that they're able to carry it out and beat some of the Pac-12 teams that are really showing out right now. I think Caleb Williams is going to carry them.
Yeah, I got two teams for you, actually. So my initial number one, I'm going to say Oregon State. I was a really big fan of them going into this year. I know it's a huge dark horse, but that Pac-12 does have some top-heavy teams, and there are a lot of chances to pick up some ranked wins. I think they have a very sound offensive line, good running game, and then if DJ can turn up a little bit and be the player we thought he was going to be coming out of high school, I think that there is no doubt they could finish this regular season with one loss. And if they do that, I think they have a very good chance to be a playoff team. And my other team is the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. I look at them right now. They got those 4 first games out of the way pretty easy. But then they're playing, just to highlight some big games on their schedule, Ohio State this week that we'll get to later. They play at Duke. They play USC at home. And then they have to travel to Clemson. If they win 3 out of those 4 games, and there's a little bit of chaos that happens, I could very easily see them making it into the playoff. Estime has been fantastic running the ball, and then they have one of the most experienced quarterbacks in the entire country in Sam Hartman. So I don't really see much that's going to hold this Notre Dame team back. If they take care of business this week against Ohio State and then against USC or a team like Duke, and if they finish the regular season with 1 win, I don't see how they're not making it into the playoff.
All right, we'll get into our week 4 predictions. Of course, 6 ranked versus ranked matchups. But we'll start off with the non-ranked versus ranked one. We'll do Florida State Seminoles at the Clemson Tigers. Will, if you want to start it off.
You know, Max already touched on Clemson and their ability to match up very well with Florida State. And I really do like that. Factoring into the decision, Florida State struggled last week, but I still think that they're going to be able to bounce back and beat this Clemson team, even on the road.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Clemson Tigers here. I just think it's so difficult to go into the Fake Death Valley. It's still a very tough place to play, but it is the Fake Death Valley, and come out with a win. I think Florida State's riding high. They didn't look very good last week, and I think they're going to get brought back down to earth here, and Clemson playing very inspired, playing with something to prove, will take down the Seminoles.
Max.
Yeah, so I think Florida State's going to win this game, but it's almost a coin flip for me because, like I mentioned before, I mean, the big issue with Florida State so far this season has been the run defense. I mean, they have the Power Five's worst defense in terms of EPA allowed per rush. They're allowing, Boston College at 4.6 yards per carry on them. Clemson with Will Shipley and Phil Maffa, they can run all over them. So they have a really good run game against Florida State's run defense. And then Florida State, the big thing on offense is weapons, but I think Clemson could match them almost defensively. They have a terrific secondary. I think it's a top 3 secondary in the country, best linebacker unit in the country, really good defensive line too. I still think the Seminoles will pull it out because I do think if it comes down to quarterbacks making plays, I trust Jordan Travis a heck of a lot more than Cade Klubnik right now. But I do think this is a coin flip, man, because I think Clemson on offense can run all over the Seminoles. And also on defense, they can make enough stops on all those amazing skill position players that Seminoles have. So Florida State's going to win this one, I think. But, man, I can see this going either way.
Yeah, definitely could be FSU's hardest matchup. I'm going to have them take in this one, edging out by the slightest bit. I think the thing to look out for is Jordan Travis utilizing the run game, just as Riley Leonard did. Riley Leonard had 8 carries, 98 yards, and a TD. I could see Travis using the legs to get this win. But moving on to the next game, we have the number 19 Colorado at the number 10 Oregon Ducks. Matt, if you want to start it off.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think this is where, all of the media attention, I don't think it's going to go away. But after the Oregon Ducks take a beating to the Colorado Buffaloes, I think the hype will die down a little bit. I think that just Colorado hasn't really played anyone legit yet. We can't glorify a TCU team that lost half their best players. This is their first real football team they're playing. Obviously, we talked about Oregon's front 7, I think, is going to just manhandle Colorado's offensive line. And Shedeur Sanders, although he's been terrific this year, I think this is where his first road bump is going to be.
Max.
Yeah, I got Oregon winning this game too. I think Colorado's going to lose this game by 10. But I will say that Colorado's defense, man, that run defense is really not good. I mean, they have really struggled so far this season, and Travis Hunter is out of this game too. He's out for the next 3 weeks. Oregon running the ball has been terrific. They're averaging Bucky Irving is averaging 8.4 yards per carry so far this year. So I think that Oregon's going to run this ball down Colorado's throat. And I think the way for Oregon to win this game is for it to not be a quarterback shootout. Because Shedeur Sanders against Bo Nix, Shedeur has a chance to beat Bo Nix in that matchup. The way for Oregon to win this game is just run this ball down Colorado's throat. So I think Oregon's going to do that. I think they're going to win this game, but I do think it'll be a shootout, and I do think Colorado will keep it close enough, and I don't think Oregon is going to win by 21 points like Vegas indicates right now.
Yeah, I definitely think it's going to be a close one, but I think Oregon's going to take it out. I just see that Colorado doesn't really have any bright spots on defense outside of Shiloh and Woods. Those safeties have been playing amazing through the first 3 games, and on the defense, I don't see anybody else stepping up to beat this Oregon team, even if it gets to a shootout. I just don't see a Colorado defense stepping up like an Oregon defense would.
Yeah, I'm gonna unfortunately have to settle with the Oregon Ducks here. I'm all for the Colorado Buffaloes. I love what Deion's doing over there. As Matt said, I think this is where it ends. But I don't think Bo Nix is going to put an absolute a beat down on this team. I think this Colorado Buffalo team is going to lose respectfully. I think they're going to keep it tight, and I think they're going to be able to take some of that momentum and continue to be a dominant Pac-12 team.
All right, moving on to a pretty good game. Didn't expect it to be before the season, but now it's looking very good. Number 22, UCLA at Utah. Cam Rising, still questionable for this one. Max, if you want to start it off.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a really interesting game. I'm excited for this one. I think UCLA is going to pull it out because Cam Rising, like you mentioned, is still questionable. Brant Keithy, their star tight end, still has not played this season. He's questionable. And you look at what Utah is doing right now, and their pass blocking grade is not good. And UCLA, you look at their defensive line, it is one of the most loaded in the country. Laiatu Latu is the highest graded defensive player in the country right now. He could be a top 10 pick. He's an edge defender. So if Rising's out, I really like UCLA in this game, and I know they're the underdog right now. And also the other guy I want to point out, Dante Moore, who is a true freshman at UCLA, the quarterback, he has been lights out this season. He has been phenomenal. So if you're looking for a 2026 quarterback to watch, it is Dante Moore, man, because he has been special. I will say it's been against subpar competition, and Utah obviously has a really good defense, but I do think UCLA is going to do enough in this game, especially if Rising and Keithy are still out. I just don't see how Utah is going to be able to handle UCLA's pass rush. And then also on the other end, Dante Moore, I think, will make enough special throws. So I got the Bruins winning this game, even though they're the underdogs right now.
Yeah, I also have the Bruins win this one. It's just because without Cam Rising, this Utah offensive pass game has just looked so weak. It looks so uninspiring. And I think UCLA, of course, with Dante Moore, has played very good to the first 3 games. I think he leads them to a win to get that UCLA up the rankings. Will, who do you have for this one?
Yeah, I'm going to follow you guys as well with the UCLA pick. I wouldn't go as far as saying, I was about to go as far as saying, even if Cam Rising's playing, I'll still take UCLA. I've been very inspired by how this UCLA defense has come out to start the season. A very, very good group so far. Utah, on the other hand, offensively, not putting up anything with the run game, not really doing much of the pass game. They've just been kind of cruising along so far. This UCLA team is going to they're going to go into Utah and have a very, very, very good chance to upset this team.
Yeah, I'm going to just call it a clean sweep. I'll take UCLA as well. I just don't really understand why this Utah Utes team is being ranked so highly right now. I mean, they beat a poor Florida team in Utah by 13. They beat Baylor in Waco, which I understand is a tough place to play, but Baylor is nothing you should write home about. And then Weber State, 31-7. I don't really understand where the intrigue is with this Utah Utes team. I'll take UCLA. Dante Moore will be the best quarterback on the field, no doubt about it, assuming Rising isn't playing. So I think that'll be enough to propel them to a win.
Yeah, a lot of people have that Utah-Baylor game on asterisks because that last play was just a horrendous call against Baylor too. So on to the next game. We'll start off with Will. Ole Miss Rebels, number 15, against the really disappointing number 13 Alabama Crimson Tide.
I'm going to be short with this one. I think Ole Miss has just been doing it right, and I think Alabama hasn't been able to get their feet set. I think Ole Miss is going to come into Alabama and shock the world.
Yeah, I just wouldn't go against Saban here with how disappointing the beginning of this season is. I think they have the right guy under center now. Jalen Milrow's back. I can't go against the Crimson Tide here. I think that Milrow's better quarterback than Jackson Dart, and I think that Alabama will start to get its footing a little bit at home against Ole Miss.
Max.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Jackson Dart is the best quarterback in this game. Honestly, I'm picking Ole Miss in this one, man. At Alabama, not only is the quarterback situation in Alabama an absolute mess, that offensive line in Alabama has been nothing short of atrocious so far this season. Right now, the 4th highest pressure rate allowed in the Power 5 so far, and then the receivers have not been inspiring either. Ole Miss is a little banged up offensively right now. Quinshon Judkins is dealing with an injury. Trey Harris, their star receiver, missed last week. Caden Prieskorn, the tight end, has missed the whole season so far. Zachary Franklin, another receiver, has missed the whole season so far. Harris and Prieskorn are practicing this week, so that's a good sign. And Judkins played last week, so that's a good sign. But I do think Ole Miss is doing it, man. And I think, there's only been 4 Nick Saban assistants ever to beat 3 former Nick Sabans ever to beat Nick Saban, and it's Jimbo Fisher at A&M, Kirby Smart at Georgia, and then Steve Sarkisian, obviously, a couple weeks ago. Lane Kiffin, I think, becomes the 4th one ever and the 2nd in 3 weeks, man. So, yeah, I got Ole Miss in this one. I do not trust Alabama's passing game right now to keep them in this game.
I'm going to have to agree with Matt here. I think Alabama, with just Nick Saban, it's not a game they're going to lose, especially in Tuscaloosa, which didn't really show much against Texas, but I think it's going to show here. Try and get a win here for Alabama. Try and get them on the right foot. Moving on to the next game, the number 14 Oregon State Beavers at the number 21 Washington State Cougars. Matt, you want to start it off?
Yeah, so obviously I touched on Oregon State earlier in the show, so I'm going to go with the Beavers here, but I don't want to discredit Cameron Ward, who might be the most dynamic player in the country right now. He is up there. He's been fantastic so far this year, so I think this is going to be an absolute nail-biter, but I just think Oregon State is a more sound team, and they'll run away with it in the end.
Max.
Yeah, it's interesting. This is actually the Pac-2 game right now because these are the only 2 schools that don't have a home in the Pac-12 conference for next season. And ironically, this is the first time that both of them are ranked playing each other too. So I'm excited for this one. I got Oregon State in this game too, man. I think Oregon State's run game has been deadly. That offensive line is, in my opinion, going into the season, the 3rd best offensive line in the country behind Michigan and Georgia. That it's special. And Damian Martinez, that sophomore running back, he's averaging around 8.6 yards per carry, which is 3rd in the Power 5 right now. So he's been great. Washington State does have a really good run defense, but I think Oregon State's going to bully him a little bit in this game. So I got Oregon State winning this one and what should be a close one.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree. I think I'm going to have Washington State win this one, especially with Cameron Ward, who I think has been playing amazing, has been rising up the rankings in the 2024 NFL draft. And just like you said, I think that Washington State run defense, ranked 4th right now in the Power 5 on PFF, has looked very good. Will, who do you have for this one?
Just like Matt and Max said, I'm going to go with the Oregon State Beavers here. I just believe overall they're the better team. Throwing the ball, not exactly. Washington State's passing attack so far has been, very, very, very excellent to start the season. But Oregon State, to me, is just the better team. On the road, I think they're going to come away with the win here.
All right, moving on to the best game of the week at prime time, 7:30, the number 6 Ohio State Buckeyes taking on the number 9 Notre Dame Fighting Irish. We'll start off with Max here.
Well, this is tough. This one is a coin flip, man. This is the game for Kyle McCord to prove it. Like I said, he hasn't really proven much to me so far. And I'm excited to see this Notre Dame offensive line against Ohio State's defensive line because Notre Dame has Joe Alt, a left tackle, who I think is the best offensive lineman in college football. He still hasn't allowed a pressure on 107 pass blocking snaps yet so far this season. The rest of Notre Dame's offensive line, though, is not been great. So I think Ohio State might have an advantage there. Audric Estime has been nothing short of phenomenal. He might be the best running back in the country right now based off how he's playing. And Sam Hartman has played really well too, and so have the Notre Dame receivers. Notre Dame actually has the highest receiving grade in the country right now. And Ohio State's defense is great. And Sam Hartman, I think the key to this game is to get pressure on Sam Hartman because he has a 91 grade when not under pressure, when he's kept clean. He has a 44.3 grade when he's under pressure. So big difference there. So I think – ultimately, like I said, it's a coin flip, and I'm sorry, Matt. I'm taking Notre Dame at home in this one. I think Notre Dame, I trust the quarterback more in Sam Hartman than I do in Kyle McCord, And I think Notre Dame has the pieces this year to take down the Buckeyes.
Yeah, even though I had Ohio State as one of my collapse teams, I think they're going to win this one. It's just especially because they have the best ranked coverage and pass rush in the Power 5 according to PFF. And I think McCord, who we haven't seen step up yet, I think this is one of the games where he will. The only way I see Notre Dame winning this game is Audric Estime having one of those signature games and putting his stamp on this game to win this one for the Fighting Irish. Will, who do you have?
I'm gonna take the Fighting Irish at home here. You know, alongside from them being top 2 in the country in number 1 in the country in receiving grade, also top 3 in the country in rushing grade. This offense is so good, and as Max said, Joe All is beyond special. He's one of those offensive linemen that comes in draft every few years who's just uber talented, and he's going to go probably top 3, probably top 2 in the draft behind the quarterbacks. Wherever he goes, he's going to be special, and I think that he's going to be able to handle the pressure that Ohio State's going to be sending off this line. I think Sam Hartman is, the more experienced quarterback. I think this Notre Dame offense at home is going to be able to overcome the Buckeyes attack.
Yeah, anyone who says they know what's going to happen on Saturday night in this game is lying. Anything could happen here. We could see Kyle McCord step up, and if McCord does step up, my Buckeyes could be the best team in the country with the weapons they have around him, and that defense looks incredibly special. And we could also see Devin Brown starting the second half for the Buckeyes. It could go in any direction. I mean, Notre Dame, you kind of know what you're going to get. They have Estime. They have Joe Alt. That offensive line was a little shaky. And then Hartman's one of the most consistent and proven guys in college football right now. I really don't know, but as a hopeful Buckeye fan, I'm going to take the Bucks, and I'm going to hope Kyle McCord figures it out. Although I'm not the biggest fan, I'd love to be surprised.
All right, moving on to the last game we have here is the number 24 Iowa Hawkeyes versus the number 7 Penn State Nittany Lions. Should be a clean sweep here. Let's see if anybody has anything different. Start off with Will.
Yeah, I'm going to take the easy one here with Penn State.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to sleep on – I'm just kidding. Cade McNamara, although it's a good story, him leaving Michigan. I don't think Iowa has any chance here. I'd like to see Aller, kind of let it loose a little bit. And then that defense is absolutely scary with Chop Robinson, Kalen King, who I think is the best corner in the country right now. I would have him ahead of Will Johnson and ahead of Kool-Aid McKinstry. So I just think the weapons on that defense are going to absolutely suffocate an Iowa Hawkeyes offense that is known for being the bottom of the college football.
Max.
Listen, as the Penn State fan, I'm surprised that I'm not picking Iowa in this game. Don't get me wrong, but I think this could be a bad matchup for Penn State. I really do. I think Iowa's offense is not good, and I think Penn State, just like they did with Illinois, they could shut this team down on offense. However, as we saw in Illinois kept that game close, man, because Penn State offensively was really, really struggling. Now, I do think Drew Aller has been special. He's the one thing on this offense that I can hang my hat on right now. Like I said before, Penn State's offensive line outside of Olu Fashanu has been a mess. So I think Iowa can get pressure on him. I think Iowa right now has one of the best defenses in the country. This could be an ugly game, man. It really can be. Now, it is the whiteout game, too, which I think plays a factor. And I don't think Iowa's offense, that would be even more of a detriment to Iowa's offense, and Penn State's defense is special. But, man, I could see this being an issue. And this is the first major test for Drew Aller because Iowa has a great run defense, so they're going to shut down that run game, and Penn State's offensive line has really struggled in run blocking. I think that Iowa is really going to come down to Drew Aller, and Penn State's receivers might struggle gaining separation against an awesome Iowa secondary too, man. So I think it could be closer than a lot of people think. I don't even think Penn State's going to cover the 14.5 points. I could see this being an ugly game, and for Iowa to pull off the upset, it has to be as ugly as possible. I mean, I'm talking like 13-10, 17-14 type of stuff. That could happen in this game. I would not be surprised. I think Penn State's going to win, but I would not be surprised if Iowa keeps it close and maybe even pulls off the upset because I think Iowa's defense is really that special.
Yeah, I don't need to say much more after that, after Matt and Max's analyst there. I think easily Penn State here. I don't really like this Iowa team, even though their defense is very good. I think Penn State's going to run away with this one. But that'll do it for us. Thank you, Max, so much for coming on. Hopefully we can get you back on for the bowl season.
Yeah, dude, of course. Whenever you guys want to have me on, just let me know.
All right, so that'll do it for us for Joe's Nose College Week 4 predictions for Will Kukowski, Matt Freeman, Max Chadwick, and me, Jack Kemler. Thanks for watching.